breaking. The press conference was supposed to be routine cleanup. Zohran Mamdani, fresh from his extraordinarily cordial White House meeting with Donald Trump, was expected to soften his rhetoric, maybe walk back some of his harsher criticisms, play the diplomatic mayor-elect role everyone anticipated. Instead, when a reporter asked him directly whether he still believed Trump was a fascist, Mamdani paused for exactly 3 seconds, looked directly into the camera, and said, "Yes. Absolutely yes." The room went silent. Then it exploded. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't off-the-cuff emotion. Sources inside Mamdani's communications team confirm he planned this exact response hours before stepping in front of those cameras. He knew what would happen. He knew the political cost. And he said it anyway. Within minutes, the footage was circulating through every congressional office, every news desk, every Republican donor network in America. And the reaction wasn't just anger, it was panic. Because here's what makes this unprecedented. Mamdani had just left a meeting where Trump publicly praised him, where they discussed federal partnership, where they appeared, by all accounts, to form genuine working rapport. Standard political calculation would demand gratitude, diplomacy, strategic silence at minimum. Mamdani chose confrontation. And that choice has now triggered something Washington hasn't seen in modern political history: a collaborative enemy. Someone working with Trump while openly identifying him as an authoritarian threat. The White House response was immediate but deeply confused. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt held an emergency briefing 90 minutes after Mamdani's statement. Her talking points were incoherent. She praised the meeting. She defended Trump's character. She insisted the president was unbothered. But her hands were shaking, multiple reporters noticed. One asked her directly, "Is the president angry?" Her response, "The president respects honest disagreement." That's not a denial. That's crisis management language. Behind closed doors, the situation is far worse. 3 separate sources within the Trump administration, all speaking on condition of anonymity due to fear of retaliation, confirm that Trump watched Mamdani's press conference live. His initial reaction was laughter, not angry laughter, genuine amusement. He reportedly turned to his chief of staff and said, "This guy's got balls." But then Republican congressional leaders started calling, and Trump's laughter stopped. Because what Mamdani did wasn't just personally insulting, it was strategically catastrophic for Republicans. Every GOP candidate who praised the Trump-Mamdani meeting is now on record appearing to endorse someone who calls their party leader a fascist. Every Republican who criticized the meeting is vindicated, but now has to explain why Trump continues engaging with Mamdani despite the insult. There's no winning position. Mamdani just checkmated the entire Republican messaging apparatus. Senator Ted Cruz released a statement within the hour demanding Mamdani apologize. The statement used the word disgraceful 4 times. It called Mamdani's behavior un-American. It suggested federal funding to New York should be reconsidered. Cruz is up for re-election. His primary challenger immediately issued his own statement, praising Cruz's toughness, but questioning why he's not demanding Trump cut ties with Mamdani entirely. Cruz is now being attacked from his own right flank for defending Trump's association with a self-proclaimed enemy of MAGA ideology. Democratic leadership is equally paralyzed. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was asked to comment on Mamdani's statement. His response, "Mayor-elect Mamdani speaks for himself. That's not support, that's abandonment." Progressive Democrats are celebrating Mamdani's defiance, moderate Democrats are terrified of association, and Jeffries is caught between a base that loves confrontation and a strategy that requires electability. One senior Democratic strategist, speaking anonymously, admitted, "Mamdani just made our 2026 midterm messaging impossible to coordinate." But the most dangerous reaction isn't coming from politicians, it's coming from the military. Retired General Mark Milley, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, issued an unusual public statement referencing concerning developments in civil-military relations. That's coded language. What it means, according to national security experts, is that Milley believes the Trump-Mamdani dynamic is creating confusion within the chain of command. Because if a Democratic Socialist mayor-elect can collaborate with Trump while calling him a fascist, what signal does that send to military officers who may face orders they consider unconstitutional? This is where Mamdani's gambit becomes genuinely destabilizing. He's not just playing politics. He's testing whether American institutions can handle ideological cooperation without ideological surrender. And the answer, increasingly, appears to be no. The system isn't built for this. Alliances require shared values or shared enemies. Mamdani is offering shared interests with explicitly opposed values. It's philosophically incoherent, and it's working. Foreign intelligence agencies are watching. A leaked European Union security briefing, obtained by multiple outlets, describes the situation as a stress test of American political resilience. Translation: adversaries are studying whether the United States can maintain governance when its leadership operates in mutually contradictory frameworks. China's state media has already run analysis suggesting American democracy is entering a post-coherence phase. That's not propaganda, that's strategic assessment. Back in Washington, Trump's closest advisors are divided on how to respond. One faction wants Trump to publicly denounce Mamdani and cancel all future cooperation. Another insists that would make Trump look weak, that he needs to demonstrate he's above personal insults. That cancelling cooperation would vindicate Mamdani's entire critique. Both positions have merit. Both are politically lethal. Trump is trapped. And Mamdani knows it. Because less than 6 hours after that press conference, his office released another statement. Not an apology, not a clarification, an invitation. Mamdani invited Trump to visit New York City after his inauguration as mayor. Publicly. Formally. With full media coverage. The statement ends with one sentence that has now been analysed by every political operative in the country. I look forward to continuing our productive dialogue with a fascist. The cognitive dissonance is intentional. Republican megadonors are now making emergency calls demanding clarity. One text message, leaked from a Republican Governors Association group chat, reads, "Do we support this or destroy it? We can't do both. Trump needs to choose." Trump hasn't responded. And that silence is becoming its own crisis. Because every hour Trump doesn't publicly reject Mamdani is another hour. His base wonders whether he's been compromised. Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation is starting to make strategic sense. She saw this coming. She understood that Trump's willingness to engage with Mamdani, combined with Mamdani's refusal to moderate, would create an unsustainable political environment for hardline MAGA loyalists. She quit before the contradictions became inescapable. Other Republicans are now quietly considering the same calculation. If Trump won't cut ties with someone who calls him a fascist, what does MAGA even mean anymore? And then, late Friday evening, something happened that changed everything. The Secret Service announced it was opening an inquiry, not into threats against Trump, into threats against Mamdani. Multiple credible death threats from self-identified Trump supporters, all referencing Mamdani's fascist comment, all suggesting violence is justified against socialist traitors working with the enemy. Those exact words appeared in 17 separate communications flagged by federal law enforcement within 8 hours of Mamdani's press conference. The Secret Service doesn't open inquiries lightly. This isn't precautionary, this is operational. Which means federal agents now believe Zohran Mamdani, mayor-elect of America's largest city, faces credible assassination risk because he simultaneously works with and denounces Donald Trump. The political paradox has become a security crisis. Trump was briefed on the threats by Secret Service Director Wayne Jacobs within hours. What Trump said in that briefing remains classified, but two sources with knowledge of the conversation confirm Trump immediately offered federal protection resources. Not reluctantly, immediately. When Jacobs apparently asked if Trump wanted to reconsider engagement with Mamdani given the threats, Trump reportedly said, "That's not how this works." Translation: Trump is not backing down. Not because he agrees with Mamdani, because backing down proves Mamdani right. The strategic calculation here is extraordinary. If Trump cuts ties with Mamdani because of his base's violent threats, he validates every critique about MAGA extremism and authoritarian tendencies. If Trump maintains cooperation, despite his base's rage, he fractures his own coalition. Mamdani has effectively weaponized Trump's ego against Trump's movement, and it's working with surgical precision. Democratic power brokers are now waking up to what Mamdani has done. He's not fighting Trump, he's using Trump to destroy Trumpism from within. By accepting cooperation while maintaining moral opposition, Mamdani forces Trump to either embrace pluralism or reveal authoritarianism. Either outcome weakens the MAGA movement. If Trump cooperates, he's no longer the anti-establishment fighter. If Trump retaliates, he proves he can't tolerate dissent. Mamdani has created a political zugzwang. Every move Trump makes worsens his position. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who has said almost nothing publicly about the Trump-Mamdani situation, held a closed-door meeting with senior Democratic senators Friday night. According to a participant who requested anonymity, Schumer opened the meeting with one question: do we protect him or distance ourselves? The room was split. Progressive senators argued Mamdani represents the future of Democratic confrontational politics. Moderates warned that association with someone calling the president a fascist while working with him creates legal and political liability. The meeting ended with no consensus. Schumer's closing remark, according to the same source, "We might not have a choice." What that means became clear within hours. The New York State Legislature, controlled by Democrats, announced an emergency session to address security protocols for incoming municipal leadership. That's legislative code for, "We're allocating money to protect Mamdani because the federal government might not." It's an unprecedented move. Governors protect governors, presidents protect presidents. But state legislatures protecting mayors-elect from presidential supporters? That's never happened. It suggests Democratic leadership believes Trump either can't or won't guarantee Mamdani's safety. The international implications are escalating. Canada's Prime Minister issued a carefully worded statement expressing concern about rhetoric and safety in American political discourse. That's diplomatic language for, "We're watching a democracy destabilize in real time." The European Union's foreign policy chief went further, calling the situation a test of American institutional resilience. When your allies start publicly questioning your stability, you're in crisis territory. Intelligence communities are running worst-case scenarios. One classified assessment, portions of which leaked to 3 separate outlets, outlines a situation where violence against Mamdani triggers federal intervention in New York City, which triggers constitutional crisis over states' rights and federal authority. The scenario isn't hypothetical. It's being actively wargamed by the Department of Homeland Security. That's how serious the security establishment considers this situation. Inside Trump's orbit, the knives are out. Steve Bannon, speaking on his podcast, called Trump's engagement with Mamdani the biggest strategic mistake of his presidency. Bannon didn't criticize Mamdani. He criticized Trump for weakness, for being outmaneuvered. The MAGA media ecosystem is fracturing over this. Some outlets defend Trump's pragmatism. Others accuse him of betraying core principles. The movement that prided itself on unity through loyalty is now eating itself over ideological purity. What's truly remarkable is Mamdani's silence since the Secret Service announcement. He hasn't condemned the threats. He hasn't thanked Trump for protection. He hasn't modified his position in any way. His team released one sentence: "Mayor-elect Mamdani remains focused on preparing to serve New York City." That's it. No fear, no gratitude, no retreat. It's a masterclass in political nerve. But there's something else happening beneath the surface. Intelligence sources confirm that Mamdani's team has had multiple communications with Republican congressional members who are quietly furious with Trump's handling of this situation. These aren't moderate Republicans. These are MAGA loyalists who believe Trump is being played and are considering intervention. What form that intervention might take remains unclear, but the fact that it's being discussed represents a seismic shift. Trump's own coalition is considering acting against his strategy. The timeline for all of this is compressing. Mamdani takes office in 6 weeks. Trump has to decide before then whether to attend the inauguration. If he goes, he legitimizes someone who calls him a fascist. If he doesn't go, he proves he can't handle criticism. Either way, he loses, and everyone in Washington knows it. Late Saturday night, a single tweet appeared from an anonymous account that has previously leaked accurate White House information. It contained 8 words: "Second meeting already scheduled. Location classified. Subject: military." The tweet was deleted within minutes, but screenshots circulated immediately. If accurate, it suggests Trump and Mamdani are planning another meeting about military cooperation or deployment in New York. and nobody outside their inner circles knows what's being negotiated. This is no longer politics. This is a constitutional experiment being conducted in real time with no oversight and no precedent. Two leaders who fundamentally oppose each other's ideology are cooperating on governance while maintaining public hostility. The institutions aren't built for this. The media can't cover it coherently. The public can't process it rationally. And somewhere in that chaos, American democracy is being stress-tested in ways the founders never imagined. The question everyone's asking now isn't whether this partnership continues. It's what price will be paid when it inevitably collapses. Because something this volatile doesn't stabilize. It detonates. And when it does, the shrapnel will hit everyone. What no one's prepared for is the possibility that it won't collapse, that Trump and Mamdani will successfully model a new form of American political cooperation based on shared interests rather than shared values. If that happens, every assumption about how democracy functions becomes obsolete, and every person who built a career on ideological purity becomes irrelevant. 48 hours ago, this was a photo opportunity. Now it's a turning point. And no one, not Trump, not Mamdani, not the intelligence community knows how this ends.